You all might have been wondering that how the arguments while calling a function in recursion work. Earlier I had the same curiosity and wanted to know about it at the deepest level which could have helped to solve more problems which can be solved using recursion. Before we start with this, I would suggest you to try to understand the code on your own first and then join this video. Also, I couldn't. I made this video because I couldn't find on YouTube or Google. So I thought there might be others who are facing this issue. So I made this video for you. I will explain in short what the problem is about. In this problem, we need to move the disk from source to destination tower in the same order from the smallest to larger to the largest disk. We have to keep two rules in mind before doing that. The first one is we can move only one disk at a time. And the second one is the larger disk cannot be placed on the smaller one. If this is the larger one, so it cannot be placed over the smaller one. So first smallest one will come over here, then larger one over here. As you can see, we are moving only one disk at a time, and now we have moved this smallest one, smaller one on a bigger one. We can't keep bigger one on the smaller one. Then the largest one is kept over here, the smallest one over there. Then this came from the temp, and from the source, the smallest comes here. There is a pattern for this. That's why we can write code for that. We can do this with any number of disks. I have shown this example for the three disks, and but we have to keep that in mind. By increasing one disk every time, we increase the number of steps twice. If you can understand this, if you have given some of your own time for for the argument Tower of Hanoi code, then if you understand what I'm going to tell it, you can pause this video after what I'm going to explain over here, and you can try it on your own. This is a code, and here this function is defined Tower of Hanoi and source destination temp. One thing which should be clear that however this arguments in this function is defined, we have to arrange these function called arguments in the same order. You will get to know what I am telling you in some time. In this example, we will be we will be assuming that first this function is called, then this function called 2 is called, and then this function called 3 is called. Some statements are written over here. So inside this function call 1, this function called 2 is called, and inside this function called 2, this function called 3 is called. We we will be visualizing over here. So this is the defined function which we have taken from here, defined. Source, destination, and temp is in this order. So we have written source, destination, and temp. And this function called 3 is called at the last. We are somewhere here in the code lines, and this function called 3, this function called 3 is called in this function called 2. So this function call 3 is called in this function call 2. We are going to write this function call 2 and function call 3 arguments in the same order as given over here. So function call 3 is in order temp, destination source, and function call 2 is in the order of source, temp, and destination. Source, temp, and destination. Attach these values to these and order this source, temp, destination as the same one as defined over here, source destination temp. So source destination temp, as these were attached, so they will also rearrange themselves. These arguments will also rearrange themselves in the same order as these are going to be arranged. So source destination temp is arranged as defined in this code. So order is source destination temp, and it changes the function called three arguments or arguments in the order of temp, source, and destination. And we have written it in the same order: temp, source, and destination. Now this function call 2 is again called in this function call 1, which is this one. And we will be arranging this, we will be again doing the same thing. We will be attaching these arguments with the previous function call, and we will be arranging this in the same order as defined in this function. So destination source temp. So order is this: source destination temp, source destination temp, And so the order of this will be source, temp, and destination. Final order is source, temp, and destination. The values attached to these source, destination, and temp, which you will further see when I will be taking on the example, will be will be put in these variables in the same order as this final one. W- One thing we have to see is that this blue arrow will show the line which has just been executed. In this case, in visualization part, we can see that Tower of Hanoi function is defined, Tower of Hanoi and source destination temp, and red arrow will show that the next line which is just going to be executed. You can observe the arrows over here and check the change in the visualization over here. You can see I have taken the same order blue, green, orange as I have shown you in the previous slides, and now this function is called. I have named it as function call 1. I have named this function as function call 2 and this one as function call 3 so that the explanation becomes easier later on and it won't get confusing. Now this function is called and source destination temp points to the values in the same order source destination and temp source destination and temp if n equals 1 but here n is equal to 3. So it will move on from these code of lines and it will move on to this function call 2. Now this function call 2 is called in this function call 1. This function call 2 is called in function call 1. I have taken the parameters in the same order as this code, source temp destination, and function call 1, source destination temp. And attach it to the previous function call, which in this case is function call 1. Arrange these function call 1 argument source destination temp in the same order as defined over here, source destination temp, as it is already in the same order. So source temp and destination will be pointing to the values in the same order, in the same order. So source will go first, then temp, then destination third. If you are not able to understand it, keep just stay with the video. I will be explaining this concept again. Now again n is equal to 2. If n equal 1, it is again gonna skip these code lines and it is gonna jump on this sixth line. And again this function will be called, this function called 2. So we can see this function call 2 is again called in this function call 2, which was called in this function call 1. So this function called two arguments are attached to this function called two arguments, and these arguments are in the same order. Now we have to arrange this previous function called two arguments in the same order as defined over here. So source destination. So the order over here is source destination temp. So source destination temp order is coming like this. So it will become source destination temp. We have written this order over here, source destination temp, and this is previous function call 1, and we will be attaching it to these arguments. And again, this function will be rearranged in the same order as defined over here, source destination temp. It is already in the same order, source destination temp. So final result would be source destination temp. So this will be the final order, how it will be pointing, how it will be storing the values. So source will go to the first one, then destination, and then temp. Now n is equal to 1 if n equal 1. Yes, it matches the condition. So now this equals source dot pop 0. So the value at 0 blue will get popped. It will be removed and stored in the variable disk. And destination dot insert 0 disk. What this code line does is it will insert this in the destination. So destination according to this one is is this one. It will put the blue, the value blue is blue will be put in this destination variable, in this destination variable. Here it is done. And return. After return, whenever we return, that role of that function is completed. Now we will Now here you can see I have written something line 7, line 7. So what this means is that earlier in this for this function we have moved till 6 code line 6 and no return code line came. So it will keep on this function keep on moving until some value is returned. Now again you can see this function will be called this function called 3, and this function called 3 will be called in this function called 2. We can see that we have moved till till code number code line number 9, and we will be marking over here line 10. This function called 3 is in the order of temp, is in this order: temp destination source, temp destination source. And this function called to is in is in this order: source, temp, and destination. We have to arrange this source, temp, destination the same order as defined over. Again, we are using the same concept, and I am explaining you again. We are gonna arrange the source, temp, destination in the same order as this one: source, destination, temp. So order will be source, destination, temp, and these arguments were attached. So source, destination, temp, and function call 3 will also rearrange itself: temp, source, destination. We will write it over here: temp, source, destination in this order as we got it from the previous process. The source, destination, and temp will be arranged in the same order as this defined. We have to again and again do the same thing, that just the previous function we have to arrange it in the same order as defined, and then we have to attach the pre whatever we got from the recent arguments, and we have to arrange it in the same order. For example, now we have reached over here. Source, destination, temp is in the same order as defined over here. Source, destination, and temp. So it will be the final order will come as temp, source, destination, temp, source, destination. As we can see here, temp will go first. Source will go second, and destination will go third. Now I hope you have understood the concept. I will just, if you want this presentation, you can write your mail in the comment section. I will send you personally. While I'm moving forward, you can slow down the speed. You can pause it every time and see whenever this code line is executed, what changes are happening over here. If you feel doubt anywhere, you can just pause the video and check what's happening. Like this video. Thank you.